Jake Morrison stared at the coffee machine in his small ship's kitchen. The brown liquid that came out looked more like motor oil than coffee, but it was all he had. He took a sip and made a face. 3 years of deep space patrol duty and the coffee still tasted terrible. The TDF Valiant was not a big ship. It was actually quite small compared to the massive warships that other captains commanded. Jake's crew consisted of only 12 people, including himself. While other captains led hundreds of soldiers into battle, Jake spent most of his time checking cargo ships and looking for space pirates. His ship was old too. The paint was peeling in several places, and the engines made strange noises when they worked too hard. The other captains often joked that Jake's ship was more like a flying garbage can than a real military vessel. Jake tried not to let it bother him, but sometimes it did. At 32 years old, Jake had been in the Space Navy for 10 years. He had always dreamed of commanding a great battleship and fighting in epic space battles. Instead, he found himself flying around the edges of human space, doing jobs that nobody else wanted to do. His crew was good, though. They were loyal and hardworking, even if they were not the most experienced soldiers in the fleet. Chief Engineer Pete Collins could fix anything with spare parts and determination. Navigator Amy Rodriguez knew the star charts better than anyone. Communications Officer Ben Tucker could pick up signals from halfway across the galaxy. The morning started like any other. Jake was reading reports from headquarters when the emergency alarm began to sound. Ben's voice came over the ship's speakers, and he sounded worried. "Captain, we're getting a distress signal from Kepler 442b. It's the mining colony on the 4th planet. They're under attack." Jake dropped his coffee cup and ran to the bridge. The liquid splashed across the floor, but he did not have time to clean it up. On the main screen, he could see the star system where the colony was located. It was only 2 hours away at full speed. "What kind of attack?" Jake asked. "It's the Zephyrians, sir. 3 of their cruisers just appeared out of nowhere. The colonists are trying to evacuate, but they don't have enough transport ships." Jake's blood ran cold. Zephyrians were humanity's worst enemy. They had been fighting a war with humans for 5 years, and the aliens were winning. Their technology was far superior to human weapons and ships. A single Zephyrian cruiser could destroy 10 human ships without breaking a sweat. "How many people are on that colony?" Jake asked. "About 12,000, sir. Men, women, and children. They have maybe 4 hours before the Zephyrians break through their defenses." Jake looked at his crew. They were all staring at him, waiting for orders. He knew what he should do according to military regulations. He should contact headquarters and wait for reinforcements. The Valiant was just a patrol ship. It was not designed to fight cruisers, but reinforcements would take at least 6 hours to arrive. By then, the colony would be destroyed and everyone would be dead or captured. Jake had seen what the Zephyrians did to human prisoners. It was not pleasant. "Set course for Kepler 442b, Jake ordered. "Maximum speed." Amy looked shocked. "Sir, we can't fight 3 cruisers with 1 patrol ship. It's suicide." "Maybe," Jake said, "but we can't just let those people die. We have to try something." The Valiant jumped to faster than light speed, racing toward the colony. Jake spent the next 2 hours studying everything he could about Zephyrian ships. He read tactical reports, watched battle recordings, and talked to his crew about possible strategies. The Zephyrians were powerful, but they were also predictable. They always used the same attack patterns and relied on their superior firepower to win battles. Human ships were smaller and weaker, but they were also faster and more flexible when they arrived at the colony. Jake saw the situation was even worse than he had imagined. The 3 Zephyrian cruisers were massive, each one 5 times the size of the Valiant. They were slowly advancing toward the planet, destroying the colony's defense satellites one by one. "They haven't noticed us yet," Ben reported. "We're too small to show up on their sensors from this distance." Jake smiled. That gave him an idea. "Pete, can you overload our engines? Make them produce a lot of radiation?" "Sure, Captain." "But it might damage the ship." "Do it." "Amy, plot a course that takes us through the asteroid belt near the planet. Ben, start broadcasting a fake distress signal. Make it look like we're a damaged cargo ship trying to escape." His crew looked confused, but they followed his orders. The Valiant began moving toward the planet, engines smoking and sending out radiation, signatures that made it look like it was about to explode. The Zephyrians took the bait. One of their cruisers broke away from the attack formation and came after what they thought was an easy target. Jake waited until the enemy ship was close enough, then gave the order to attack. The Valiant was small, but it was armed with the latest human weapons. Jake had his crew target the cruiser's shield generators instead of trying to destroy the whole ship. It was a risky plan, but it worked. The cruiser's shields failed, leaving it vulnerable, but Jake was not done yet. Instead of trying to destroy the damaged cruiser, he ordered his ship to ram it. The Valiant's reinforced hull smashed into the enemy ship's bridge, destroying its command center. The cruiser began to drift, dead in space. The other two Zephyrian ships were shocked. They had never seen a human ship use such a crazy tactic. Jake used their confusion to his advantage. He ordered the Valiant to hide behind the disabled cruiser and wait. When the second enemy ship came to investigate, Jake repeated his trick. This time, he used the ship's mining lasers to cut through the cruiser's engine section. The alien ship lost power and began spinning out of control. The third Zephyrian ship finally realized what was happening. It turned its weapons on the Valiant, but Jake was ready. He had studied their firing patterns and knew exactly when to move. The enemy shots missed by inches as the small human ship danced around the massive alien vessel. Jake's final trick was the most dangerous. He ordered his crew to activate the ship's emergency beacon, which sent out a signal that looked like a nuclear explosion. The Zephyrian captain, thinking the human ship was about to self-destruct, tried to retreat, but Jake had positioned his ship perfectly. The alien vessel crashed into one of the disabled cruisers, damaging both ships beyond repair. In less than 30 minutes, Jake and his small crew had defeated 3 Zephyrian cruisers without losing a single person. The colony was saved, and 12,000 people were alive because of his actions. The news of the victory spread across human space like wildfire. For the first time in 5 years, humans had won a major battle against the Zephyrians. Jake Morrison, the captain of a small patrol ship, had become the hero that humanity desperately needed. When Admiral Lisa Carter contacted him a week later, Jake expected to be promoted or given a new ship. Instead, she asked him a simple question. "Captain Morrison, you've earned the right to ask for any reward within reason. What would you like?" Jake thought about it for a moment. He had spent years alone in space, with only his crew for company. What he really wanted was something simple and comforting. "I'd like a companion animal, Admiral. Something to keep me company during long voyages, a dog, maybe, or a cat." Admiral Carter smiled in a way that made Jake wonder if she knew something he did not. "Your reward will arrive within the week, Captain. I think you'll find it quite interesting." Jake spent the next week preparing for his new pet. He cleared out a storage room on the ship and turned it into a comfortable living space. He bought food, toys, and a soft bed. He even installed special air filters to keep the room clean and fresh. Pete helped him build a small fence around one corner of the room. "What kind of animal do you think they'll give you?" the engineer asked while tightening screws. "Probably a dog," Jake said. "Dogs are loyal and friendly. They make good companions for soldiers." Amy laughed from the doorway. "I hope it's a cat. Cats are independent and clean. They don't need as much attention as dogs." Jake smiled. His crew was excited about the new addition to their ship. They had been together for 3 years, and the idea of having a pet around made everyone happy. Space could be lonely, and anything that made their small ship feel more like home was welcome. On the 7th day, Jake received a message from Admiral Carter. "Your reward has arrived at Station Delta 7. Please report to Docking Bay 12 to receive it." Station Delta 7 was a large space station that served as a meeting point for military ships. Jake had been there many times before, but today felt different. He was nervous and excited at the same time. The Valiant docked at the station without any problems. Jake put on his best uniform and made sure his hair was neat. He wanted to make a good impression when he met his new pet. Docking Bay 12 was larger than the others. It was usually reserved for important diplomatic meetings or special ceremonies. Jake wondered why they needed such a big space for a simple pet delivery. Admiral Carter was waiting for him when he arrived. She was a tall woman with gray hair and kind eyes. She had been Jake's commanding officer for 5 years, and he respected her greatly. "Captain Morrison," she said with a smile. "Are you ready to meet your reward?" "Yes, Admiral. I've prepared everything on my ship. Where is the animal?" Admiral Carter's smile grew wider. "Jake, I need to tell you something first. Your reward is not exactly what you expected. The Astari Collective heard about your victory over the Zephyrians. They were very impressed." Jake frowned. He had heard of the Astari before, but only in whispers and rumors. They were supposed to be an ancient alien race that rarely contacted other species. Most people thought they were just a myth. "The Astari are real," Admiral Carter continued. "They have been watching our war with the Zephyrians for years. Your victory was the first time they saw humans do something that impressed them. They want to honor you according to their customs." "I don't understand," Jake said. "What does this have to do with my pet?" "The Astari don't give pets as rewards, they give companions. Intelligent, thinking beings who choose to serve alongside great warriors. Your companion is waiting inside." Admiral Carter led Jake through a set of heavy doors into the main part of the docking bay. The room was large and empty except for a small group of people standing near the far wall. As they got closer, Jake could see that one of the figures was not human. She was beautiful in a way that made Jake's heart skip a beat. Her skin was silver like polished metal, but it looked soft and warm. Her eyes were bright blue and seemed to glow with their own light. Her hair was pure white and flowed down her back like liquid starlight. She was small, maybe 5 feet tall, with delicate features that reminded Jake of ancient earth sculptures. Her clothes were simple but elegant, made from materials that seemed to shift and change color in the light. When she saw Jake approaching, she stepped forward and spoke in perfect English. Her voice was musical and gentle, like wind chimes in a soft breeze. "I am Lyra of the Astari," she said. "I have been assigned." "As your companion?" Jake's mouth fell open. He looked at Admiral Carter, then back at Lyra, then at the Admiral again. "This is my pet?" he asked. "She is not a pet," Admiral Carter said firmly. "She is a sentient being with her own thoughts and feelings. The Astari believe that great warriors deserve great companions. Lyra volunteered for this assignment." Jake felt his face turn red. He had expected a dog or cat, not a beautiful alien woman. "I'm sorry," he said to Lyra. "I didn't know. I asked for ... Lyra smiled, and her whole face lit up. "I understand your confusion, Captain Morrison. When I studied human culture, I learned that you often keep animals as companions. But among the Astari, companionship is a sacred bond between equals." "But why me?" Jake asked. "I'm just a patrol captain with a small ship." "I'm not important." "You saved 12,000 lives," Lyra said. "You faced impossible odds and found a way to win. Among my people, such actions are considered the mark of a true warrior." Admiral Carter stepped forward. "Jake, the Astari don't make contact with other species lightly. The fact that they want to honor you means something. I suggest you accept their gift graciously." Jake looked at Lyra again. She was watching him with patient, intelligent eyes. He could see that she was waiting for his decision without any pressure or judgment. "What exactly does being a companion mean?" he asked. "I would live on your ship and assist you in whatever way I can," Lyra explained. "I have studied your military tactics and technology. I believe I can be useful to you and your crew." "You don't have to do this," Jake said. "I don't want you to feel forced." Lyra's smile grew warmer. "Captain Morrison, I requested this assignment. Among the Astari, serving as companion to a worthy individual is considered a great honor. I have watched your battle recordings many times. Your creativity and courage impressed not just me, but my entire people." Jake felt overwhelmed. A week ago, he had been a nobody captain flying a small patrol ship. Now he was being honored by an ancient alien race and given a companion who was more intelligent and probably more skilled than he was. "I don't know what to say," he admitted. "Say yes," Admiral Carter suggested. "This is bigger than just you, Jake. This could be the beginning of a new relationship between humanity and the Astari. They've been isolated for centuries, but your actions have made them consider reaching out." Jake looked at Lyra one more time. She was beautiful, intelligent, and apparently willing to leave her own people to serve alongside him. It was both an incredible honor and a terrifying responsibility. "Okay," he said finally. "Yes, I accept." Lyra's smile became radiant. "Thank you, Captain Morrison. I look forward to serving with you." Admiral Carter looked relieved. "Excellent. Lyra, welcome to the human fleet." "Jake, I've prepared some documents that explain the basics of Astari culture and customs. You'll want to read them carefully." As they walked back toward the Valiant, Jake's mind was spinning with questions. How would his crew react? Where would Lyra sleep? What did she eat? How long would she stay? Lyra seemed to sense his nervousness. "Captain Morrison, may I ask you something?" "Sure, and please call me Jake." "Jake, are you disappointed that I'm not the animal companion you requested?" Jake stopped walking and looked at her. He thought about the question seriously. A dog or cat would have been simple and easy. Lyra was complicated and challenging. But looking at her now, he realized that she was also extraordinary. "No," he said honestly, "I'm not disappointed. I'm nervous and confused, but not disappointed. I think this is going to be much more interesting than having a pet." Lyra laughed, and the sound was like music. "I believe you are right, Jake. This will definitely be interesting." As they boarded the Valiant together, Jake couldn't help but smile. He had asked for a simple companion animal, but the universe had given him something far more complex and wonderful. He had no idea what challenges lay ahead, but for the first time in years, he felt truly excited about the future. The first few days with Lyra on the ship were awkward for everyone. Jake had given her the room he had prepared for his pet, but it felt strange to have a beautiful alien woman living in what was basically a fancy doghouse. His crew didn't know how to act around her either. Ben would stutter whenever she spoke to him. Pete kept staring at her silver skin when he thought she wasn't looking. Amy was the only one who seemed comfortable, but even she kept her distance. Jake felt terrible about the whole situation. He had asked for a pet, and now he had a person living in a room meant for an animal. On the second day, he knocked on her door. "Come in," Lyra's musical voice called out. Jake opened the door and found her sitting on the small bed, reading something on a strange device that glowed with soft blue light. She looked up and smiled when she saw him. "How are you settling in?" Jake asked, though he already knew the answer. The room was too small and too simple for someone like her. "I am comfortable." "Thank you," Lyra said politely. Jake sat down on the chair he had brought for a pet owner to use. "Lyra, I need to apologize. This room, it's not right for you. I prepared it for an animal, not a person." Lyra tilted her head to one side. "Jake, you could not have known. I do not mind the small space. I am used to living simply." "But you're not a pet," Jake said, feeling embarrassed. "You're a person, and you deserve better. May I tell you something about my people?" Lyra asked. "We believe that the value of a space comes not from its size, but from the kindness of those who offer it. This room was prepared with care and hope. That makes it precious to me." Jake felt a little better, but he still wasn't satisfied. "There's a bigger room down the hall. It used to be the backup medical bay, but we don't use it anymore. Would you like to move there?" Lyra's eyes lit up. "That would be very kind, but only if it is not too much trouble." "No trouble at all," Jake said. "I'll have Pete help me move your things." Over the next few days, Jake and his crew helped Lyra set up her new room. It was 3 times larger than the first one, with a real window that looked out into space. Lyra seemed much happier, and Jake felt less guilty about the whole situation, but there were still problems. Jake didn't know how to treat Lyra. She wasn't his pet, but she wasn't exactly a crew member either. She was supposed to be his companion, but what did that mean exactly? The answer came when the ship's navigation system broke down. They were on their way to patrol the outer rim when all the star charts disappeared from the computer. Amy worked on the problem for hours, but she couldn't fix it. "We're lost," she announced during the evening meal. "The backup charts are corrupted. We'll have to go back to the nearest station and get new ones." "That will take 3 days," Jake said with a frown. "We're supposed to be at the patrol zone tomorrow." Lyra, who had been quietly eating her dinner, looked up. "May I examine the navigation system?" Amy looked surprised. "Do you know about human computers?" "I know about navigation," Lyra said simply. "Stars are the same everywhere," Jake nodded. "Go ahead and take a look." Lyra followed Amy to the navigation station. Within minutes, she had identified the problem. The main computer had been trying to update the star charts, but it got confused by some old data files. "The solution is simple," Lyra explained. "We need to reset the chart database and reload the star positions from the primary sensors." "Can you do that?" Amy asked. "Yes, but it will take several hours. The computer needs to scan each star individually and compare it to the galactic database." Amy looked impressed. "I never would have thought of that approach." Working together, Amy and Lyra spent the rest of the evening fixing the navigation system. Not only did they solve the original problem, but they also improved the system's accuracy by 15%. "How did you know how to do that?" Jake asked when they finished. "My people have been traveling between stars for thousands of years," Lyra explained. "We have learned much about navigation and space travel." Over the following weeks, Lyra continued to help the crew in ways that amazed them all. When the ship's shields started failing, she showed Pete how to recalibrate them using a technique that made them 30% stronger when Ben's communication equipment couldn't pick up signals from a distant station. Lyra helped him modify the antenna array. The improvement was so significant that they could now receive messages from twice as far away. She never acted like she was better than them, even though her knowledge was clearly superior. Instead, she worked alongside them as a friend and teacher. Always patient and kind, Jake found himself spending more and more time with her. She was easy to talk to, and she seemed genuinely interested in human culture and history. She asked questions about Earth, about Jake's childhood, about his dreams and fears. "Why did you become a soldier?" she asked one evening as they sat in the ship's small dining area. Jake thought about the question. "I wanted to protect people. My father was a soldier too. He died fighting pirates when I was 12. "I am sorry for your loss," Lyra said softly. "He would be proud of what you have become." "I hope so," Jake said. "Sometimes I wonder if I'm good enough for this job." Before the battle at Kepler 442b, I was nobody special. Just a patrol captain with a small ship. Lyra studied his face carefully. "Jake, may I tell you what I see when I look at you?" Jake nodded, curious. "I see someone who chose to fight impossible odds to save innocent people. I see someone who cares more about doing what is right than about following rules. I see someone who treats his crew like family and who prepared a room for a pet with the same care he would give to an honored guest." Jake felt his cheeks warm. "You make me sound better than I am." "I do not think so," Lyra said. "Among my people, we believe that true character is revealed in moments of crisis. Your actions during the battle showed everyone who you really are." As the weeks passed, Jake realized that Lyra was becoming more than just a companion. She was becoming his closest friend. She understood him in ways that surprised him, and she made him want to be a better person. The crew had accepted her completely. Now, Pete often asked for her help with engineering problems. Amy enjoyed discussing star charts and navigation routes with her. Ben loved hearing her stories about distant worlds and alien cultures, but it was clear that Lyra's primary loyalty was to Jake. She attended all his meetings, offered advice when he asked for it, and stood by his side during difficult decisions. She never tried to take over or make him feel stupid, but her presence made him feel more confident and capable. One day, Jake found her in the ship's small library, reading a book about human military history. "Learning about us?" he asked. "Always," Lyra said with a smile. "Your species fascinates me. You are so young compared to my people, but you have such courage and creativity. What do you mean, young? Jake asked. The Astari have existed for over 50,000 years. Humans have only been traveling in space for a few centuries. Yet, in that short time, you have achieved things that took my people millennia to accomplish. Jake sat down across from her. Like what? Like refusing to surrender when faced with impossible odds. Like finding ways to win battles that should have been lost. Like treating strangers with kindness even when you have no reason to trust them. Jake smiled. You mean like accepting a beautiful alien woman as a companion when I expected a dog? Lyra laughed, and the sound filled the small room with warmth. Exactly like that. As Jake looked at her, he realized that getting Lyra instead of a pet had been the best thing that ever happened to him. She had made him a better captain, a better leader, and a better person. The universe had given him exactly what he needed, even though it wasn't what he had asked for. 6 months after Lyra joined the crew, Jake thought his life had finally settled into a peaceful routine. The Valiant was running better than ever, his crew was happy, and he had found a true friend in his alien companion. Then everything changed. In a single morning, Jake was having breakfast with Lyra when Ben's panicked voice came over the ship's communication system. Captain, you need to get to the bridge right now. We're receiving emergency signals from Earth. Jake dropped his coffee cup and ran to the bridge. Lyra followed close behind him. When they arrived, they found the crew staring at the main screen. In horror, the display showed hundreds of red dots moving toward Earth. Each dot represented a Zephyrian warship. It was the largest alien fleet anyone had ever seen. How many ships? Jake asked. Over 300, Amy reported. They appeared out of nowhere about an hour ago. The home defense fleet is scrambling to intercept them, but she didn't need to finish. Everyone knew that Earth's defenses were not strong enough to stop such a massive attack. The human fleet was scattered across the galaxy, protecting colonies and trade routes. Most of the big warships were too far away to help. What? About reinforcements? Jake asked. Admiral Carter is trying to gather every available ship, Ben said. But it will take at least 12 hours for the nearest fleet to reach Earth. The Zephyrians will arrive in 6. Jake felt sick to his stomach. Earth was humanity's homeworld. 8 billion people lived there, including his own mother and sister. If the planet fell, the war would be over. How many human ships are available to defend Earth? He asked. Amy checked her screen. 47 ships of various sizes. Most of them are patrol vessels like ours. Jake closed his eyes. 47 ships against 300. It was hopeless. Even if every human ship fought perfectly, they would still be outnumbered 6-1. Set course for Earth, he ordered. Maximum speed. Jake, Amy said quietly, even if we get there in time, what can we do? We're just one small ship. Jake looked at his crew. They were all good people who trusted him to make the right decisions. He had led them through dangerous situations before, but this was different. This time they were flying toward almost certain death. I know the odds, he said. But we can't just run away. Earth is our home. Those are our people down there. Lyra stepped forward. Jake, may I speak with you privately? Jake nodded and followed her to his small office behind the bridge. She closed the door and turned to face him. There is something I need to tell you, she said. Something important about why I was really sent to be your companion. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. What do you mean? Lyra took a deep breath. My assignment was not just a reward for your bravery. It was also a test. A test of what? A test of humanity's character? My people have been watching your species for many years. We have seen your wars, your struggles, your failures, and your successes. We wanted to know if humans were ready to join a greater alliance. Jake stared at her. What kind of alliance? The Astari Collective is not just one species. We are a group of 12 races that have worked together for thousands of years. We share knowledge, technology, and protection. We help each other survive and grow. Why are you telling me this now? Jake asked. Because the test is not over. How humanity responds to this crisis will determine whether you are invited to join our alliance or left to face the universe alone. Jake felt anger rising in his chest. So you've been watching us struggle and die while you decided whether we were good enough for your club? It is not like that, Lyra said quickly. We cannot help species that are not ready. We have made that mistake before, and it led to disaster. But I have been watching you, Jake. I have seen how you treat your crew, how you make decisions, how you face impossible odds. I believe humanity is ready. What does that mean? Jake asked. It means that if you prove yourselves in this battle, my people will reveal themselves and offer their help. But you must prove that you will fight for what is right, even when victory seems impossible. Jake sat down heavily in his chair. So this whole thing has been a setup? The reward? Everything? The reward was real, Lyra said. My feelings for you and your crew are real. But yes, I was also sent to observe and report back to my people. Jake felt betrayed and angry. For months, he had thought of Lyra as his friend. Now he discovered that she had been spying on him the whole time. Why should I trust you now? He asked. Because I am about to break the most important rule of my people, Lyra said. I am going to help you win this battle. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small device that looked like a crystal. It glowed with soft blue light. This is a communication device, she explained. It can contact the Astari fleet that has been waiting in the outer system of your solar system? Jake's eyes widened. There's an Astari fleet here? Yes, they have been watching and waiting to see how humanity handles this crisis. If you fight bravely, they will reveal themselves and help you. But I am not supposed to tell you this. Why are you telling me? Because I have grown to care about you and your species. I do not want to see Earth destroyed while my people wait to see if you are worthy of their help. Jake looked at the device in Lyra's hand. He could feel the weight of the decision pressing down on him. If he used the device, he would be cheating on the test. But if he didn't, Earth might be destroyed. What happens if I call them now? He asked. My people will help you win the battle, but they will not invite humanity to join the alliance. They will think you are not ready to face challenges on your own. And if I don't call them? Then you must find a way to win with only human ships. If you succeed, it will prove that humanity deserves a place among the stars. Jake stood up and walked to the window. He could see the stars rushing past as the Valiant raced toward Earth. Somewhere out there, his homeworld was about to be attacked by an overwhelming enemy force. There's a third option, he said finally. What is that? We fight as hard as we can with what we have. If we're about to lose, if Earth is really going to fall, then we call your people. At least we'll have tried to do it ourselves first. Lyra smiled. That is exactly what I hoped you would say. Jake took the device from her. How does it work? Simply speak into it. The message will reach the Astari fleet instantly. Jake put the device in his pocket and headed back to the bridge. His crew looked up as he entered. Change of plans, he announced. We're not just going to Earth to fight and die, we're going to win. How? Pete asked. The same way we beat those 3 cruisers at Kepler 442b, Jake said. We're going to use our brains instead of our guns. He turned to Amy. I need you to contact every human ship heading to Earth. Tell them to meet us at coordinates I'm about to give you. What's the plan? Ben asked. Jake smiled grimly. We're going to teach the Zephyrians that humans don't give up, even when the odds are impossible. As the Valiant continued toward Earth, Jake began planning the most important battle of his life. He knew that the fate of humanity depended on the next few hours. But for the first time since hearing about the attack, he felt hope. He had a plan, a loyal crew, and a friend who believed in him. It would have to be enough. The human fleet gathered at the edge of Earth's solar system looked pathetic compared to the massive Zephyrian force. 47 ships of different sizes and ages floated in space, waiting for Jake's orders. Jake stood on the bridge of the Valiant, looking at the tactical display. The enemy fleet was still 2 hours away, but he could already see their formation. 300 ships arranged in perfect attack groups, moving toward Earth like a giant metal storm. All ships. This is Captain Morrison, Jake said into his communication device. I know what you're all thinking. We're outnumbered 6-1. The smart thing to do would be to run away and live to fight another day. He paused and looked at his crew. They were all watching him with trust and determination in their eyes. "But we're not going to run," Jake continued. "Earth is our home. Our families are down there. If we don't stop the Zephyrians here, there won't be anywhere left to run to." Voices crackled over the radio as other captains voiced their agreement. Jake felt a surge of pride in his fellow humans. They were scared, but they were willing to fight anyway. "Here's the plan," Jake said. "The Zephyrians expect us to attack them head-on. They're used to fighting enemies who try to match their firepower, but we're not going to do that." He activated the tactical display so all the ships could see it. The enemy fleet is divided into 3 groups. Each group has about 100 ships. They're planning to surround Earth and attack from all sides. Jake highlighted different parts of the display as he spoke. "We're going to let them think they're winning. We'll retreat toward Earth, drawing them into the planet's gravity well. Once they're committed to their attack, we'll hit them where they don't expect it." "What do you mean?" asked Captain Rodriguez from the heavy cruiser Manhattan. "Asteroids," Jake said simply. "Earth's system has 3 large asteroid belts. We're going to use them as weapons." For the next hour, Jake explained his plan in detail. It was risky and complicated, but it was their only chance. The other captains asked questions and offered suggestions. By the time the Zephyrian fleet arrived, every human ship knew exactly what to do. The battle began just as Jake had predicted. The Zephyrians attacked in their usual formation, confident that their superior numbers would guarantee victory. The human ships retreated toward Earth, firing desperately but seeming to accomplish little. Jake watched the enemy fleet follow them deeper into the solar system. The Zephyrians were taking the bait perfectly. They thought they were chasing a beaten enemy toward an easy victory. Phase 2. Jake announced when the enemy fleet reached the first asteroid belt, the human ships suddenly changed direction. Instead of continuing toward Earth, they began moving in a complex pattern that confused the Zephyrian commanders. The alien ships tried to follow, but their large size made them slower to turn. "Now," Jake ordered. 20 human ships that had been hiding behind large asteroids opened fire simultaneously. But they weren't shooting at the enemy ships. They were shooting at the asteroids themselves. The massive rocks exploded into millions of smaller pieces, creating a deadly cloud of debris. The Zephyrian ships, moving at high speed, flew directly into the trap. Dozens of alien vessels were damaged or destroyed as they crashed into the asteroid fragments. But Jake wasn't finished. As the surviving Zephyrian ships tried to regroup, he activated the second part of his plan. "All ships with mining equipment target the second asteroid belt. Make it rain." Several human ships that had been converted from mining vessels began breaking apart the larger asteroids in the second belt. Within minutes, another cloud of deadly debris was floating toward the enemy fleet. The Zephyrian commander finally realized what was happening. The humans weren't just retreating randomly. They were turning the entire solar system into a weapon. The alien fleet tried to retreat, but it was too late. They were trapped between 2 asteroid fields, with human ships harassing them from all sides. Every time they tried to form up for an attack, another wave of debris would smash into their formation. Jake felt a moment of hope. His plan was working better than he had dared to expect. But then he saw something that made his blood run cold. The largest Zephyrian ship, a massive dreadnought that was twice the size of any other vessel, was still intact. It was pushing through the debris field, heading straight for Earth. Even damaged, it carried enough firepower to destroy every major city on the planet. "All ships, concentrate fire on the dreadnought," Jake ordered. The human fleet turned their weapons on the massive enemy ship. Laser beams and missiles struck its hull, but the dreadnought's shields absorbed most of the damage. It continued moving toward Earth, leaving a trail of smaller destroyed ships in its wake. Jake looked at the tactical display and felt his heart sink. They had hurt the enemy fleet badly, but they couldn't stop the dreadnought. In 20 minutes, it would reach Earth's atmosphere and begin its bombardment. He reached into his pocket and felt the communication device that Lyra had given him. He could call the Astari fleet now. They would arrive in time to save Earth. But if he did, humanity would fail the test. Jake, Lyra said quietly. She had been standing beside him throughout the battle, offering advice and encouragement. It is time to make your choice. Jake looked at her, then at his crew, then at the image of Earth on the main screen. His homeworld looked so beautiful and peaceful from space. It was hard to believe that millions of people were about to die. No, he said suddenly. There's still one more thing we can try. He opened a communication channel to all the human ships. This is Captain Morrison. I need every ship that can still fly to follow me. We're going to ram the dreadnought. Jake? That's suicide, Captain Rodriguez protested. Maybe, Jake admitted. But if we all hit it at the same time, we might be able to crack its hull. Even if we don't destroy it, we might damage it enough to save Earth. One by one, the surviving human ships acknowledged his order. 32 vessels, including the Valiant, turned toward the massive enemy dreadnought. Jake felt Lyra's hand on his shoulder. I am proud to serve with you, she said softly. Thank you, Jake replied, for everything. The human ships accelerated toward the dreadnought. Their engines pushed far beyond safe limits. The enemy ship fired at them desperately, destroying several vessels, but the rest kept coming. Just as they were about to impact, something incredible happened. The space around the dreadnought suddenly filled with new ships. They were beautiful. Vessels with hulls that seemed to be made of living crystal. They moved with impossible grace and speed, their weapons creating patterns of light that looked more like art than warfare. The Astari fleet had arrived in less than a minute. The remaining Zephyrian ships were disabled or destroyed. The massive dreadnought, which had seemed unstoppable, was held motionless by some kind of energy field. Jake stared at the main screen in amazement. Lyra, did you call them? No, she said with a smile. You did? What do you mean? The test was never about winning the battle alone. It was about proving that humans would sacrifice everything to protect what they love. When you ordered the ramming attack, knowing it would mean your death, my people saw everything they needed to see. A new voice came over the communication system. It was musical and ancient, speaking in perfect English. Greetings, humans of Earth. I am Speaker Valdris of the Astari Collective. We have watched your battle with great interest. Your courage, creativity, and willingness to sacrifice for others has impressed us greatly. Jake found his voice. Thank you for your help. Thank Captain Morrison. It was his actions that convinced us to reveal ourselves. Humanity has passed our test. We formally invite your species to join the Astari Collective as our newest members. Over. The following days, Jake learned what membership in the collective meant. The Astari shared their advanced technology with humanity, including faster ships, better weapons, and medical knowledge that could cure diseases that had plagued humans. For centuries, in return, humans brought their own unique gifts to the Alliance. Their creativity, adaptability, and determination made them valuable partners in exploring new worlds and solving difficult problems. Jake was promoted to admiral and given command of a new fleet of hybrid ships that combined human and Astari technology. Lyra remained as his partner and advisor, helping to bridge the gap between the two species. As they stood together on the bridge of their new flagship, the TDF Astari's Hope, Jake reflected on how much his life had changed. A year ago, he had been a nobody captain flying a small patrol ship. Now he was helping to guide humanity into a new era among the stars. Do you ever regret asking for a pet instead of all this? Lyra asked with a smile. Jake laughed. Never. I got exactly what I needed, even if I didn't know it at the time. Looking out at the stars, which no longer seemed empty and hostile but full of friends and possibilities, Jake knew that the best adventures were just beginning.